Welcome to the Hip Neutral Workout. This workout is designed to develop proper hip function by correcting muscle imbalances. The workout consists of 4 series of exercises followed by dynamic tension. Because the routine targets underused muscle groups, some burning and cramping can be expected. Do your best, but if you need to take a quick break, please do so and jump back in when you can. Let's go ahead and get started. For the starting position, lie on your back with your knees bent, feet slightly wider than hip width apart, and arms crossed over your chest. If your elbows are on the floor, you're going to be cheating. Your upper back is going to be stabilizing for you, so try to keep those elbows off the floor throughout the duration of the workout. Now drop your knees side to side as far as you can. Try to keep your hips down. You're not going to be able to keep them completely down, but try to get as much range of motion as you can. Really try to open up those hip flexors as you go side to side. This is a movement we're going to come back to for recovery purposes throughout the workout. Let's get started with the first series, hip flexion. We need to tire out those hip flexors so they don't try to take over the rest of the workout. Lay on your back, feet hip width apart with your arms crossed over your chest. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee. You're going to keep that ankle crossed for the entire time. For the first exercise, you're going to march to your chest. Hinge at the hip, pull that knee in as close as you can towards your chest, and then back down to lightly tap the floor with your foot, then right back in. The goal while you do this is to keep your low back flat on the ground. For the next movement, hold at the top, keeping that hip hinged, and kick your foot up and down as high as you can. Maximize range of motion on every one of these exercises. Nice work. You're trying to keep your femur in the exact same position. Keep that core engaged, head back, and make sure you breathe. For the next movement, you're going to hold your lower leg parallel to the floor and rotate your foot to the inside and outside. Again, maximal range of motion. Try to keep that femur in the exact same spot. Think of it as an axis you're rotating around. Try not to let your heel drop too much during this movement. Do your best to keep your lower leg parallel with the floor. This is also where you might start to feel it burn a little bit. This is the last exercise of the series. Rotate your foot externally as far as you can, bend your knee, and kick your foot up and down. Again, maximizing range of motion and really holding that external rotation in place as you kick that foot up and down. Nice work. Great work. We're going to come back to those hip twists for a little recovery now. So uncross your leg and place your feet a little wider than shoulder width apart on the floor. And go ahead and drop those knees from side to side. Just back and forth. Nice deep breaths. let's go ahead and get set up on the other side. Cross your opposite ankle over your knee, arms crossed over your chest, and we'll start with that first movement, which is the hip hinge heel tap. Good job, just hinging that hip up and down, tapping that heel to the floor. Nice deep breaths. For the next movement, you're going to hold at the top, keeping that hip hinged. Kick that foot up and down as high as you can. Go ahead and make sure you maximize that range of motion on every kick and try to keep that femur in the exact same position. Now for the next movement, you're going to hold your lower leg parallel to the floor and rotate your foot to the inside and outside. Keep that lower leg parallel to the floor. Rotate internally and externally as much as you can. This is the last exercise of the series. Rotate your foot out externally as far as you can. Bend your knee and kick that foot up and down. Nice job. I know it's really starting to burn. You're really getting tired, but you're almost there. Nice work. Series 1 is complete. So we're going to come back to those hip twists for a little recovery before we jump into hip extension. Drop those knees from side to side. Nice deep breaths. The second series is hip extension. The starting position is the same. On your back, feet hip width apart, cross your arms over your chest, one ankle crossed over the opposite knee. This series will target the hamstrings and glutes. The first movement is a single leg bridge. Keep your foot planted on the ground and move your hips up and down as high as you can. Do a little self-check to make sure your hips are coming up evenly. Your goal is to get as much height as you can through the hips and glutes, trying to get those hips up off the floor, but also staying level. From this point out, your planted foot doesn't change, so the hamstring on that planted leg is going to start to burn, but you can work through it. For the next movement, you're going to hold the bridge up at the top. From here on out, try to keep your glutes as high as you can off the floor. Uncross your leg, bring your knee to your chest, and extend your leg out parallel to the floor. Bring your knee up to your chest, then kick your heel out parallel to the floor towards the wall on the opposite side of the room, then right back into your chest, then kick that leg right back out. Your foot should be low, a couple of inches off the ground. Nice, steady, rhythmic motion, trying to get as much range of motion as possible. For the next movement, you're still in the bridge position, but you're going to straighten your leg out as much as possible. Then hinging at the hip, you're going to lift your whole leg up and down. We want maximal range of motion in these leg lifts. So this is your little dance line movement. Nice, smooth kicks here. You can lightly tap your foot on the floor, but try not to transfer any weight away from your planted leg. At this point, your hamstring might be on fire, so if you need to take a quick break, you can do so, but jump right back in when you can. This is the last exercise in this series. You're still holding that bridge up, but your hip and knee will both be bent at 90 degrees. You're going to drop your knee to the side, opening up your leg, then lift that knee right back up. Ideally at the top, your femur is perpendicular to the floor. Just drop that knee to the side and right back up. Great. I know that hamstring on that planted leg is absolutely on fire, but just keep working through it. We're almost to a break. Nice work. Let's go back to that hip twist movement for a little recovery. Just drop those knees from side to side. This is your opportunity to just take some nice deep breaths before we jump into the other side. Let's get set up on the other side. Go ahead and cross that opposite ankle over the other knee, and we will start with that first movement, which is that single leg bridge up and down. Remember, you're trying to get as much height out of your hips as you can, trying to keep your hips nice and level as you raise your hips up and down. Again, remember that planted foot does not change from this point out, so your hamstring is going to really start to burn. Take a break if you need it, but I'm sure you'll do great. For the next movement, you're going to hold that bridge at the top, uncross your ankle, pull your knee in towards your chest, and then just shoot that leg across the floor. Knee all the way in, push that foot out across the room towards the opposite wall, trying to keep that foot nice and low, ultimately just a couple of inches above the floor. Full range of motion, all the way in, all the way out. Nice work. The next movement, you're going to keep that leg straight, and again, as you're holding that bridge up, hinge at the hip, kicking that whole leg up and down. Nice job. Full range of motion. Nice big kick. I know that planted leg is on fire. Take a break if you need it. This is the last exercise of the series. While you're bridging up, you're going to hinge your hip and knee both at 90 degrees and drop that knee to the side. Drop that knee down, back up. Nice work. You're still holding that bridge up. We are almost to a little recovery period. You guys can work right through this. I know that hamstring is on fire, but we are almost there. Great job. The hip extension series is complete. So we're going to come back to those hip twists for a little recovery at this point. Dropping those knees from side to side, trying to keep that low back on the ground. Nice deep breaths before we jump into the next series. The third series is lateral abduction. For the starting position, you're going to lie on your side with your knees bent so that your feet are behind you. You should be one straight line from your shoulders down to your knees with your lower legs perpendicular to the rest of your body. Push your hips out in front. It might feel a little funny, but we need full extension of your hips in order to activate your glutes. This series targets the glutes and hip abductors. For the first exercise, it's a clamshell. Keep the bottom of your feet touching, but lift that top knee as high as you can. Nice steady motion. Again, full range of motion. Your goal throughout this series is to keep your hips vertically stacked. The next exercise is almost the same motion, but your foot is going to travel with your knee this time. Hinging at the hip, you're going to do an open clamshell, trying to keep your ankle at the same level as your knee. Nice job. Just raising that top knee. It might help to pretend you're balancing a glass of water on your ankle as you raise that knee. Really working to keep that ankle at the same level. For the next movement, you're going to hold at the top. It's a little tricky, but you're going to keep the femur in the exact same spot, then rotate your foot inside and outside as much as you can. For variation, if needed, you can put a ball between your knees if that helps support your upper leg. Nice job. Just rotate that ankle to the inside and outside, trying to keep the femur in the same location. For the next movement, you're going to straighten out your leg and bring it as far forward to the front as you can. And we're going to do leg lifts in this front position. Try to keep your leg straight, lift it up as high as you can, lower it, and softly tap it on the ground if you want. Then lift it right back up. Again, we're trying to maximize range of motion, getting as vertical as you can with that leg. With this movement, you may want to pitch those hips back, but really try to avoid doing so. You're probably really feeling the burn on the outside portion of your hip at this point. Okay, this is the last movement for the series. You're going to anchor your knee as close to your chest as you can. Bending at the knee, kick that foot in and out. This is the last exercise of the series, so breathe through it. Focus on keeping your thighs stationary and as close to your chest as you can. Kicking that foot in and out. Make sure you breathe. I know your hip is on fire right now, but you are almost there. Nice job. Go ahead and roll onto your back, and we're going to do an active release on that piriformis muscle. Go ahead and grab behind your thigh. Pull your leg towards you. You're trying to keep your tailbone on the ground, and just get a nice stretch through the lateral aspect of your hip. If you're more flexible, you can grab in front of your knee instead of behind your thigh. Hold it for about a 2 count, relax, and then just keep repeating that movement. All right, let's go ahead and repeat on the opposite leg. Lay on your side, hips stacked, straight line from your shoulders through your knees, knees bent with lower legs perpendicular to the rest of your body. For that first movement, it's that clamshell exercise, keeping the bottom of your feet touching and lifting your top knee as high as you can. Again, nice steady motion, keeping those hips vertically stacked. Nice work. For the next exercise, it's almost the same motion, but your foot is going to travel with your knee. So again, your ankle is going to stay at the same height as your knee as you continue to do those clamshell exercises. Nice job. I'm sure you're starting to feel it in that hip about now, but just keep cruising. For the next movement, you're going to hold at the top. Remember, this is the one that's a little bit tricky, but you're going to keep that femur in the exact same spot, then rotate your foot internally and externally as far around as you can. Nice work. Try to keep that femur in one spot. Good. I know it's really starting to burn, but work through it. For the next movement, you're going to straighten that leg out and bring it as far forward to the front as you can, and we're going to do leg lifts in that position. Keep that leg nice and straight, lifting it up as high as you can. When you lower it, you can softly touch the ground if you want, but then take it right back up. Remember, you're trying not to pitch your hips or shoulders back through this movement. Try to keep your body perpendicular to the mat. Nice job. Okay, last movement for this series. Go ahead and draw your knee in towards your chest. You're trying to keep it as close to your armpit as possible, and then keeping your femur in one spot. Bend at the knee and kick that foot in and out. Again, this is the last exercise. I know your hip is on fire, but breathe through it. We are almost to a point where we take a little break. Nice work. All right, go ahead and roll onto your back. Relax, take a couple of deep breaths. We're going to do that active release on the piriformis. So whatever leg you were just lifting, cross it over your opposite knee, grab behind your thigh, pull it in towards your chest for about a 2 count, then relax. If you do have that extra flexibility, you can grab in front of your knee and do the same motion. Nice deep breaths. We are almost done. This is the last series which targets the hip adductors. Again, lay on your side, legs straight. Now plant the foot of your top leg in front of your bottom thigh. For the first exercise, we're going to be lifting that bottom leg up and down as high as you can. Just like the previous series, make sure your hips stay vertically stacked the entire time and really maximize that range of motion, keeping your toes pointed straight out in front. For the next movement, you're going to keep that leg held up as high as possible, and we're going to do ankle circles. So choose a direction and just draw circles with your toes. We want really good range of motion through this. You'll notice as you do these ankle circles that one direction will feel really smooth and the other direction isn't going to feel so smooth, but just do what you can. All right, now let's switch directions with those ankle circles. Again, remember we want to keep your thigh up off the ground as high as possible. Really accentuate that movement with those toes. We want really good range of motion throughout this movement. Okay, this is the last exercise of the series. You're going to keep that thigh as high off the ground as possible, bend your knee, and try to kick yourself in the butt. Bringing your ankle as close as you can, really flexing those hamstrings as you kick. Nice work. All the way in, all the way out. Great work. Let's go ahead and go back to those hip twists for some recovery. Feet on the ground, about hip width apart, just dropping those knees from side to side. Nice deep breaths. Moving on to the opposite side. Again, you're on your side, legs straight, and plant the foot of your top leg in front of your bottom thigh. We're going to start with those leg raises of the bottom leg, toes pointed forward, just getting as much height out of that leg as you can. For the next movement, you're going to hold that leg up as high as possible, and we're going to do those ankle circles again. So just choose a direction and draw circles with your toes. Looking for really good range of motion, keeping that thigh up off the ground. Nice job. Okay, for the next movement, we're just going to switch directions with our ankle circles. So just move those toes in the opposite direction. Again, just keeping that leg nice and elevated and getting as much range of motion as you can. Here we are at the last exercise of the series. Keep your thigh elevated, bend your knee, and try to kick yourself in the butt. Nice job. You're really flexing those hamstrings as you bend that knee and draw that ankle back. Let's go ahead and recover with 30 seconds of hip twists. Feet a little wider than hip width apart. Drop those knees from side to side. Arms crossed over your chest. These hip twists probably feel a lot better now than they did at the beginning of the workout. Your hips should feel a lot looser as you perform these hip twists. The final portion of the routine is some dynamic tension. For the first minute, you're going to squeeze an object between your knees while holding a bridge. A yoga block, a medicine ball, a basketball, any sort of object can work in this capacity. Nice job, just squeezing those knees together while maintaining nice height out of your hips in that bridge. Work. Let's go back to those hip twists for a recovery before we move on to the outward pressure. Just drop those knees from side to side, really focusing on your breath and trying to open up those hip flexors as much as possible. For the next movement, you're going to need a yoga strap or an exercise band, and we're going to apply outward pressure. So place that band or yoga strap directly above your knees, bridge up, and push out on that band. Now we will recover with hip twists one final time, dropping those knees from side to side. As you continue these hip twists for 30 seconds, just remember that as you complete this workout, all of the muscles in your hips should be activated at the same time. You should feel different compared to the start of the workout, lighter on your feet, and feeling almost as though your hips are driving your walk as opposed to you dragging your hips around with you. This window of lightness will vary, minutes for some, hours or days for others. But the more you do the routine, that window will increase to where your hips are active and engaged almost all of the time. Great work today.